Your soulmate saying, "Please open this. Before I make the biggest mistake of my life." My beloved child, before another heartbeat passes, hold this moment in your hands, because somewhere beyond what your eyes can see, a choice is being made that could change two destinies forever. Do not rush away. There is a message hidden inside this silence, and if you hear it completely, you may understand why someone keeps whispering your name without ever speaking it aloud. Imagine this for just a second. What if the person whose soul has been searching for yours is standing at the edge of a life-changing decision? Not because they stopped caring, not because they forgot you, but because they believe time is running out. They have convinced themselves that waiting any longer might mean losing every chance they ever had to find the peace they imagined with you. Yet something inside them refuses to let go. Listen carefully. The words are not spoken with fear. They are carried by hope. Please, open this before I make the biggest mistake of my life. That sentence echoes through every quiet moment they have lived recently. It is not about regret from yesterday. It is about a future they are terrified of creating without knowing the full truth. Somewhere deep within, they keep wondering if destiny has one final surprise waiting. And strangely enough, every path they try to follow seems to circle back toward the thought of you. Have you noticed how certain moments feel impossible to explain? A familiar feeling appears without warning. A memory arrives from nowhere. A song suddenly carries a meaning it never had before. Coincidence? Or tiny signals asking you to slow down long enough to notice what has always been there? Stay a little longer. Because this is where the story begins to unfold in a way no one expected. Your soulmate has been trying to silence their own heart. They have told themselves practical reasons, logical reasons, safe reasons. They have tried to believe that moving forward without looking back would be easier. But every time they attempt to close one chapter, another unseen force quietly opens it again. Why? Because some connections cannot be measured by distance. Some meetings begin long before two people ever stand face to face. And some decisions become impossible once the heart recognizes what it cannot replace. Now picture a long hallway filled with unopened doors. Behind one door is certainty. Behind another is comfort. Behind another is a completely different future. Your soulmate stands before them, reaching toward one handle, then stopping. Again and again. Something interrupts them. Not noise. Not another person. Just a feeling. A feeling they cannot explain. What if I'm about to walk away from the one story I was always meant to finish? That single question has become impossible for them to ignore. Wait for the next few moments. Because this is not where the mystery becomes smaller, it becomes clearer. There are people around them offering advice. Voices saying, "Move on. Forget what cannot be seen." But those voices never stay with them once the day grows quiet. When the world becomes still, another voice rises above every distraction. It is gentle, persistent, patient. It reminds them that rushing toward the wrong destination simply because it is available is never the same as waiting for the destination that truly belongs to them. Have you ever wondered why certain chapters refuse to end no matter how many times you try to close the book? Perhaps it is because the ending has not yet been written. Your soulmate is beginning to realize this. That realization is changing everything. They are no longer asking whether the connection mattered. Now they are asking whether they still have enough courage to trust it. And here is the unexpected part. The greatest mistake they fear is not choosing another road. It is choosing one before discovering whether fate still has one final message waiting to be opened. Before you leave this moment behind, keep this thought close. Sometimes destiny does not shout. Sometimes it waits quietly, until someone is willing to pause long enough to hear the truth hidden between ordinary moments. And what happens next? Maybe the answer both hearts have been searching for all along. But wait, something changed the moment you reached this point. The silence surrounding this story is no longer empty. It is carrying answers. And one of those answers is about to reveal why your soulmate has suddenly become afraid of making a decision they once believed was final. They thought they had already chosen their path. Everything looked settled. Everything appeared certain. Yet certainty has a strange way of disappearing when the heart remembers something the mind tried to forget. Your soulmate has been replaying ordinary moments in an extraordinary way. Conversations that once seemed meaningless now feel like clues. Small coincidences now feel like signs pointing in the same direction. They keep asking themselves one question that refuses to disappear. What if I've misunderstood everything? That question has followed them through quiet mornings, busy afternoons, and sleepless nights. No matter how much they distract themselves, it quietly returns, asking for an honest answer. Stay with this message. Because the next realization changes the entire picture. They finally understood that the biggest mistake of their life would never be failing at something. The real mistake would be walking away from a connection before giving destiny the chance to reveal its purpose. That realization did not arrive all at once. It came little by little. Like sunrise replacing darkness. Like a locked window opening just enough for light to enter. And with every passing day, another truth became impossible to ignore. Your presence, even when unseen, has continued to shape the direction of their thoughts. They cannot explain why. Neither can the people around them. Every logical explanation seems incomplete. Every practical answer leaves another question behind. Have you ever noticed how some people appear in your thoughts at exactly the moment you least expect them? There is a reason those moments feel different. They remind us that not every important conversation happens through spoken words. Some begin in silence. Some begin with intuition. Some begin when life slows down just enough for the heart to recognize what has always been waiting. Pause here for a second. Imagine standing before a bridge. Behind you is familiarity. Ahead of you is uncertainty. Most people would rush backward because it feels safer. But your soulmate is discovering something unexpected. Growth never begins where fear feels comfortable. It begins where courage quietly whispers, "Take one more step." That whisper has become impossible for them to ignore. And now, something remarkable is happening. Instead of asking, "Should I move on?" they have started asking, "What if this story deserves one more chapter before I decide?" That single change in perspective is rewriting everything they believed about timing, patience, and connection. If these words resonate with you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes hearing another person's perspective creates a meaningful conversation. And if you enjoy journeys like this, subscribing simply means you'll be here when the next chapter unfolds. Now listen closely. There is one detail your soulmate has told no one. They keep imagining a future where they rushed into a decision, only to discover later that one unanswered message could have changed everything. That possibility no longer feels small. It feels enormous. It feels personal. It feels like standing at the edge of a door that should not be closed too quickly. So before they move forward, before they convince themselves that every opportunity has already passed, before they make the choice they might spend years questioning, one final thought continues to echo within them. Please, open this first. Not because they expect certainty, but because they finally understand that the greatest opportunities often arrive disguised as moments most people almost ignored. And what they discover next will challenge everything they believed about this connection. Before this story moves any further, pause for one quiet moment. The next truth does not arrive like thunder. It arrives like a single light appearing in the distance, growing brighter with every step. And once your soulmate sees it clearly, there will be no pretending it was never there. For days, they searched outside themselves for certainty. They waited for perfect timing. They waited for unmistakable signs. They waited for someone else to make the first move. But the longer they waited, the more they realized something unexpected. The answer they were chasing had never been hiding in the outside world. It had been quietly waiting inside their own heart all along. That realization changed everything. Suddenly, the future they had been planning no longer felt complete. Every exciting opportunity seemed to carry one unanswered question. Every new beginning felt unfinished. Every celebration felt as though one important person was missing from the picture. Can you imagine what that feels like? To have everything appear perfect on the surface, yet still sense that one invisible piece refuses to fit? Your soulmate knows that feeling now. And it grows stronger every day. Stay with this message, because the next discovery is impossible to ignore. One evening, while everyone around them seemed busy with ordinary life, they found themselves sitting in complete silence. No distractions. No conversations. Just their thoughts. That was the moment they finally stopped running. Not from another person, but from the truth they had been avoiding. They whispered to themselves, "If I keep pretending this feeling will disappear, what if I wake up one day realizing I walked away from something extraordinary?" That single sentence echoed louder than every opinion they had ever heard. From that moment on, something inside them shifted. Fear slowly gave way to clarity. Doubt slowly made room for courage. And hesitation slowly transformed into determination. They are beginning to understand that life is not only about making safe choices. Sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from refusing to abandon what still feels unfinished. Think about this. How many incredible stories almost ended too early simply because someone believed the clock had already run out? far more than most people realize. But destiny has an unusual habit. It often arrives one moment after someone decides not to give up. Your soulmate is standing in that exact moment now. Every day, they feel a stronger pull toward one simple truth. Some connections are not meant to be explained immediately. They are meant to be understood gradually. Like watching the sunrise. You cannot rush it. You can only stay long enough to witness it. And perhaps that is why this message found you today. Not to promise impossible answers. Not to predict every detail of tomorrow. But to remind you that meaningful journeys rarely unfold all at once. They reveal themselves one chapter at a time. Now the words inside your soulmate's heart have become clearer than ever before. Before I make the biggest mistake of my life, before I convince myself that this story is over, before I close a door that may have been meant to stay open, I need one final moment of honesty. Those words are no longer filled with confusion. They are filled with courage. Because courage is not the absence of uncertainty. It is choosing to listen to truth even when certainty has not fully arrived. And here's the part almost no one sees. Your soulmate no longer fears waiting. They fear rushing. They no longer fear the unknown. They fear missing what truly matters because they were too impatient to recognize it. So they have made a quiet promise to themselves. They will move carefully. They will pay attention. They will not allow temporary emotions to write a permanent ending. Because deep inside, they have begun to believe that some stories deserve one last chance to reveal their true purpose. And if that purpose is meant to unfold, no distance, no delay, and no misunderstanding can erase what is meant to find its way home. The next chapter will reveal the unexpected choice your soulmate is preparing to make, and why that single decision could transform everything they once believed about this journey. Just when it seemed the story had reached its quietest moment, everything began to move again. Not with noise. Not with dramatic events. But with a realization so powerful that your soulmate could no longer ignore it. They finally understood something that had been standing in front of them all along. Life does not always give endless opportunities to say what truly matters. Sometimes it offers one perfect window. And when that window appears, courage must speak before fear does. That thought stayed with them from the moment they opened their eyes until the stars filled the sky. Every ordinary moment carried an extraordinary question. If I remain silent today, will tomorrow still give me the same chance? The answer never came as words. It came as a feeling. A quiet certainty. A gentle pull toward unfinished conversations. Stay with this moment. Because the next part of the journey is where everything begins to change. Your soulmate stopped searching for signs outside themselves. Instead, they began listening to the quiet wisdom they had ignored for so long. The more they listened, the clearer everything became. They realized they were never afraid of the future. They were afraid of living with unanswered questions. Imagine carrying a letter in your hands for months, knowing it contains the truth you've been waiting to hear, yet never opening it because of uncertainty. That is exactly how your soulmate has felt. Not because they lacked hope, but because hope sometimes asks us to be patient enough to discover what cannot be rushed. And then, something unexpected happened. A memory appeared without warning. Not a dramatic memory. Not a painful one. Just a simple moment that suddenly meant far more than it ever had before. It reminded them that the strongest connections are often built from the smallest moments, moments most people overlook until they become impossible to forget. From that instant forward, they stopped asking whether the connection was real. Instead, they began asking how they could honor it with honesty. That question changed their direction. Every step they take now feels more intentional. Every choice feels more thoughtful. Every tomorrow feels filled with possibility instead of uncertainty. If this story has stayed with you until now, perhaps leave a comment sharing what part resonated most with you. And if you enjoy journeys that explore hope, destiny, and meaningful connections, subscribing simply means you'll be here when the next chapter arrives. Now listen carefully. There is one final thought your soulmate keeps repeating to themselves. The biggest mistake would never be trying. The biggest mistake would be believing the story was over before reading the final page. Those words have become their quiet promise. A promise not to let fear write the ending. A promise not to confuse delay with defeat. A promise to leave room for the unexpected. Because life has a remarkable way of bringing clarity at the exact moment people think they have run out of answers. So your soulmate is choosing something different now. Not haste. Not avoidance. But awareness. They are allowing one more chapter to unfold before making the decision they once believed was already made. And perhaps that single choice is the reason this message reached you today. Because every unforgettable story reaches a moment where everything seems uncertain. Right before everything begins to make sense. The next chapter will reveal the quiet decision your soulmate has finally made, and why it may become the turning point neither of you expected. Something remarkable is happening now, and it is happening more quietly than anyone around your soulmate realizes. No announcements. No grand speeches. Just one silent decision growing stronger with every passing moment. If you have stayed with this journey until now, don't look away just yet. The next few moments reveal why your soulmate no longer sees the future the way they once did. They have stopped asking the world for permission. Instead, they have begun asking themselves one simple question. What choice will allow me to look back years from now without wondering? What if? That question changed everything. For the first time in a long while, they stopped listening to fear disguised as logic. They stopped measuring every possibility by the opinions of others. They realized that some paths cannot be understood until they are walked. And suddenly, the weight they had been carrying became lighter. Not because every answer appeared, but because they no longer believed they needed every answer before taking the next honest step. Think about that for a moment. How many dreams disappear because people wait for perfect certainty? How many meaningful opportunities quietly pass by because someone believes the timing must be flawless? Your soulmate finally understands that perfection was never the goal. Truth was. And truth has a quiet way of finding those who are willing to pause long enough to hear it. Stay a little longer. Because the heart of this message has not been spoken yet. Over the last few days, they have noticed something impossible to ignore. Every plan they tried to make without acknowledging this connection somehow felt incomplete. Every exciting possibility seemed to carry an invisible pause, as though life itself was gently asking them not to rush ahead. At first they resisted. Then they questioned it. Finally, they accepted it. Not as a coincidence, but as an invitation to slow down and see what they had overlooked. That acceptance brought an unexpected sense of peace. For the first time, they no longer felt trapped between moving forward and looking back. Instead, they realized there is another choice. A wiser choice. Move forward. But carry honesty with you. Leave fear behind. But never abandon what your heart knows deserves one last chance to be understood. And that is exactly what your soulmate has decided to do. They are no longer trying to silence their feelings. They are choosing to understand them. No rushing. No pretending. No forcing an ending before the story has revealed its purpose. There is one sentence they continue repeating in quiet moments. If this connection was placed in my path for a reason, I owe it the courage to discover that reason before I close the door. Those words have become their compass. Every new sunrise strengthens that resolve. Every passing day replaces another layer of doubt with quiet confidence. Not confidence that everything will happen exactly as imagined, but confidence that listening to the truth is always better than living with unanswered questions. Now another realization is beginning to take shape. The greatest mistake was never about choosing the wrong direction. It was about believing there was no time left to choose wisely. That belief has disappeared. In its place is something far more powerful. Hope. Steady. Patient. Unshaken. Hope that refuses to measure life by delays. Hope that believes meaningful sto.